welcome to Telesur. I'm Carla Gonzalez in Quito, and this is from the South. Chinese authorities have announced that the death toll from the new coronavirus-related pneumonia has risen to 81, with close to 3,000 confirmed cases. Overseas, there have been 7 confirmed cases in Thailand, 5 in Australia and Singapore, 3 in Japan, and 3 in the United States, among others. In the meantime, the Chinese government has stepped up efforts to stop the outbreak, including shutting down public transport in a number of cities and the swift construction of 2 emergency hospitals near the epicenter of the outbreak.
The teams are made up of prominent experts from the capital and other cities of Shanxi and medical workers from top hospitals of 10 cities. Our team consists of 2 groups, one for treatment of patients in critical situations, another for common patients.
As a medical worker, a respiratory doctor, and a member of the Chinese Communist Party, I need to fight together with the people in Wuhan on the front line because it is the best way to help them.
And the Chinese government has announced an extension to the New Year holiday until February 2nd in an effort to curb the spread of the virus.
The novel coronavirus infection is a kind of respiratory infectious disease, and its main means of transmission is close-range contact. So, reducing travel and gatherings is the most effective way to cut off the means of transmission. As such, we have decided to extend the holiday and encourage people to stay at home, not to hang out, not to go to the epidemic areas, not to go to public places, and reduce the frequencies to public places and places where people usually gather, so as to reduce the risk of transmission. Therefore, residents and other people should follow the advice by the government, stay at home, reduce travel, and don't go to crowded places.
Our correspondent, Iramsi Peraza, is in Beijing with the latest update on this virus.
China has taken strict measures and is not sparing any resources to stop the rapid advance of the coronavirus. So far, 80 people have died, while 2,800 contain the virus. Chinese authorities have announced they will reinforce the country's security measures by, for example, canceling classes and extending the Lunar New Year holidays. Authorities have also extended the quarantine status to different cities across China. Interprovincial transport services have also been cancelled, and various touristic spots like the Great Wall of China have also been shut down in order to avoid the expansion of the virus. According to official statements, these measures are taking place due to recent studies which have shown that the virus is becoming more contagious by the minute. According to official information, the Tibet region is the only province that has not been infected by the coronavirus. Authorities have said they have tried to stop the virus with various treatments, but no one has been completely effective. Scientists have said they are working on a vaccine for the virus. Nonetheless, these studies are just getting started, making the creation of the vaccine last for months or maybe even years. Chinese authorities have also made public that 58 patients have been able to overcome the pneumonia caused by the coronavirus. It is also important to say that since the start of the virus, China has maintained strong communications with the World Health Organization. The head of the WHO has said he would travel to Beijing to help combat the virus, and also announced the creation of an international group of experts to help assess with this situation.
That was Iramsi Peraza from China. The presidential candidate for Bolivia's Movement Towards Socialism Party, Luis Arce, held a news conference from Argentina on Monday. Joined by former President Evo Morales, Arce spoke about the damage that has been caused by last November's coup and by the de facto government.
It was not just a political coup, but an economic coup. The de facto government immediately started to tear down our model, the one we worked on for so long, which bore many positive results and was hailed across the world. This de facto government has started to change the policies of Bolivia, and it has led to a sharp rise in economic uncertainty. Last December, for the first time, we saw indicators in the financial system that showed a marked decrease in deposits, something that never happened during our administration. There's a re-dollarization in Bolivia. For years, we applied measures to strengthen our currency, as Bolivia used to be dollarized before 2005. And people regained trust in our national currency because the economy was on the right path. After the coup, expectations were created, and people have been falling back on the dollar once again.
For his part, the former president of Bolivia highlighted the process behind the nomination of Luis Arce and David Choquehuanca as president and vice president in the coming elections.
After a long debate, we decided to nominate Luis Arce and David Choquehuanca for president and vice president. But in all honesty, there were some sectors of our supporters who were not satisfied with our choice. But thankfully, David Choquehuanca has been instrumental in explaining why we chose this particular ticket. A few days later, after some debate, we could announce that all sectors in Bolivia threw their support behind our candidates.
On Sunday night, Bolivia's de facto president, Janine Áñez, asked for the resignations of all her ministers, mere days after announcing she plans to run for president in the upcoming general elections. Áñez's announcement comes on the heels of the resignation of her communications minister, who strongly disagreed with her decision to run for president. He said in a communiqué that the transitional government has lost its way and that Áñez is not working to restore democracy. Áñez took power on November 12 last year following the military-backed coup against President Morales and the violent persecution of his officials by far-right groups. And Cuba has denounced the decision by Bolivia's de facto government to suspend diplomatic relations with the island. The Foreign Affairs Ministry issued a statement condemning the decision, saying the move is due to pressure from the United States and its schemes to impose the Monroe Doctrine on the nation. The statement said that since it seized power last year, Bolivia's de facto government has carried out systematic acts to sabotage bilateral relations with Cuba. The ministry reiterated the country's respect for norms and principles of international law and its obligation of non-interference in other states' internal affairs. Coming up, heavy rains and floods kill more than 20 in Madagascar. More details to come.
The life is full of moments. Moments of fight. Moments of hope. Moments that transcend. Moments that you can live in. Telesur documentaries. Sundays. Only on Telesur.
Welcome back. More news at this hour. Landslides caused by heavy rains in Brazil have killed 44 people and left thousands homeless in the city of Belo Horizonte, the capital of Minas Gerais state. Authorities said another 17 people are still missing following the landslides and flooding. According to Brazil's National Institute of Meteorology, Belo Horizonte registered over the course of 24 hours the highest recorded precipitation in the area in 110 years. More rain is expected in Minas Gerais as well as other parts of Brazil, including Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. This Saturday marked 1 year since a dam owned by mining giant Vale collapsed in the Brazilian town of Brumadinho, killing 272 workers. Local residents say they will not allow such a tragedy to happen ever again. Andre Vieira has the story.
This is what's left of the dam in Corrego do Feijão, Brumadinho. 1 year ago, it collapsed and left 272 dead. It destroyed the environment and contaminated the Paraopeba River. This Saturday, residents of the community and those affected by the disaster marched to demand justice for the victims and a fair sentence against the mining company Vale, responsible for the dam collapse.
Every day we have to struggle in order to remove the mud. This has been so sad. Today we are demanding justice so that other people, other communities don't go through what we went through. It's been 1 year of suffering, 1 year of torture, 1 year of being buried by this mud.
In the morning, the protesters entered the community of Corrego do Feijão. They walked through the mud up to the old highway that was also destroyed in the tragedy. Where people walked through before is now a police barrier.
The police treats us this way. They put barriers in order for us not to come close to the mud, as if we were criminals, and we are not criminals. I've lived here for many years. Before, this place was very peaceful. In this community, we are all family.
The march then proceeded to a local church. There, the church bell rang 272 times at 12:28, the exact time when the tragedy occurred on January 25, 2019.
We are here to serve, to organize, to fight, in order for justice to be served in this case, and for justice, equality, and fraternity around the world.
While Vale tries to buy time not to pay compensations, it recently distributed to its shareholders $1.7 billion of profit for 2019. On the other hand, the company will cut by half the funds set aside for its emergency plans to assist the more than 93,000 people living in 48 cities and towns affected by the pollution of the Paraopeba River.
During this march, we made this claim. How do mining companies work? What's their logic? How does Vale and other companies work in a way that they put profit above people's lives? How are they able to commit such crimes?
The mining company Vale is one of the biggest in the world. But the residents of Brumadinho promised to be even bigger and not allow what happened here to happen anywhere else in the world.
In other news, Antigua and Barbuda has announced a $629 million budget for 2020. Prime Minister Gaston Brown, who is also the finance minister, presented the budget, which is $111 million more than 2019's plan. The Ministry of Education received the largest allocation at $56 million. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health got the second largest at $48 million. Jamaica's Prime Minister has advised the country's Governor General to declare a state of public emergency in eastern Kingston that took effect at midnight. States of public emergency are already in place in 6 other divisions. The police commissioner defended the move, saying the high level of violent crime was the reason for the declaration.
Already, since the start of 2020, the Eastern Kingston Division has recorded 11 murders, when compared with the 3 during the corresponding period last year. When we examine the broader national picture, the year 2020 has begun with signs of success in the implementation of our policing strategies. Murder is down 5% when compared with this time last year overall, and shootings are down 7%. The gang warfare and other criminal acts perpetrated by gangs has created fear among citizens and has caused the disruption of livelihoods in several communities in the division. The fear that is associated with this level of violence has undermined the daily lives of these communities and the residents. As a consequence, and in consultation with the Chief of Defense Staff, we requested that a state of public emergency be declared in the Eastern Kingston Police Division.
Now to news from overseas. At least 26 people have been killed and 15 reported missing in Madagascar after a week of heavy rainfall. The rains have caused severe flooding, leaving thousands homeless and roads destroyed. Prime Minister Christian Ensay declared the floods a national disaster. The country is in the midst of an intense 6-month rainy season that often results in casualties and widespread damage.
I'm begging you to help us. Everything we have has been destroyed. Even our house has been destroyed. a house made of bricks and which we only recently built. On the other side, it's totally destroyed. The bricks are broken. We are begging you, come and help us.
407 migrants were rescued from the Mediterranean Sea over the weekend. The ocean-making migrant rescue ship found the migrants adrift on the Libyan coast in 2 makeshift rubber boats. Among them were women and children. Over the last few years, hundreds of thousands have made the journey through the Mediterranean as they flee poverty, violence, and war. Burundi's ruling party has picked party leader General Evariste Ndayishimiye as its candidate in the upcoming presidential election in May. Ndayishimiye has served as Interior and Security Minister and Chief of the President's military and civilian cabinet. He is an ally of current President Pierre Nkurunziza, who will reportedly not seek a new mandate after his controversial election to a 3rd term in 2015 plunged the country into a crisis. The violent aftermath of the last presidential election in 2015 made Burundi a focus of an investigation by the International Criminal Court for alleged murder, rape, torture, and disappearances.
The CNDD-FDD party announces to Burundians and the international community that it will participate in the next elections with other political parties for this year, 2020. The person who will represent the party in these presidential elections is General Major Evariste Ndayishimiye.
When we come back, protesters in Palestine reject Trump's vision for peace in the Middle East. Don't go away.
Una travesía para descubrirnos. Buscamos conexiones perdidas.
No nos queda otra que luchar, porque no tenemos nada que perder.
Realmente es por todos.
Recorremos el mundo con Reportajes Telesur.
For joining us again. Hundreds of Palestinians have protested in Gaza against the United States' so-called Middle East peace plan. The demonstrators, including activists from the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, gathered outside the United Nations office and burned an effigy of U.S. President Donald Trump, as well as U.S. and Israeli flags. They called for the United Nations to intervene and stop U.S. aggression against the national rights of the Palestinian people. The protests came after Trump announced that he would release the plan in a few days.
If Trump announced the deal of the century, he will place the whole region on the top of a volcano. Therefore, the United States and Israel will bear full responsibility for the revolution of the Palestinian people in the face of the deal of the century to knock it down.
Meanwhile, the Palestinian Prime Minister has urged the world to boycott Trump's peace plan, which he considers a distraction.
This is a plan to protect Trump from impeachment and protect Netanyahu from prison. It is not a Middle East peace plan, but rather a self-protection plan for its owners. It gives sovereignty to Israel over Palestinian land at a time when the International Criminal Court is discussing the issue of occupied Palestinian land.
The commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, Hossein Salami, has warned the United States and Israel over threats made to its commanders. Salami said if threats continue, Iran will retaliate. The warning came after a U.S. envoy to Iran said that the U.S. was going to target the successor of Qasem Soleimani.
If they want to continue this game, our response will be completely different from the past, and its scale will be different too. They will face a totally new situation that they won't be able to manage and control. We warn them to withdraw from this field.
It has now been revealed that it was a military personnel carrier that crashed in eastern Afghanistan, killing all 83 on board. A video shows the aftermath of the wreckage of what was previously thought to be a passenger plane. The aircraft came down in the Day-Yak district of Ghazni, southwest of Kabul, a known Taliban area. Officials initially said the plane was owned by Afghanistan's Ariana Airlines, but that has since been denied. The Taliban now claims that it downed the plane after earlier reports said it crashed due to technical difficulties. Thousands of villagers living near the Philippines' Taal volcano have been allowed to return home. The villagers have been forced to evacuate to safety after the volcano erupted 2 weeks ago. The residents can now return as authorities say an explosive eruption no longer appears to be imminent. However, they have been warned to be ready to flee. On Sunday, the relatives of the victims of violence and forced disappearances marched in Mexico City to demand the government to move faster with their strategy to bring back peace to the nation.
Violence and insecurity has greatly afflicted Mexico since 2006, when former President Felipe Calderón started a so-called war against drug gangs. Since then, people have not stopped mobilizing to demand justice for victims.
Verdad, justicia, paz! Verdad, justicia, paz!
The parents of the 43 missing students from Ayotzinapa joined in solidarity with thousands of Mexicans just like them, who have experienced firsthand the pain of losing a loved one.
It's been 64 months since the disappearance of the students. We hold the Mexican state responsible, and they have to give us an answer. They have to punish those responsible.
Erika demands justice for her parents and brother, who were killed in their own home, in the state of Mexico.
My brother had severe cerebral palsy. He couldn't move his arm or legs. He was aware, and he heard how our parents fought for their lives. He heard how they were killed, and then they killed him too.
In silence, they traveled through Reforma Avenue towards the Zócalo, where the presence of poet Javier Sicilia and members of the Lebanon family divided opinions.
This government can't do everything in 1 year. It's been over 40 years of this crisis.
The Lebanon family questionably used their U.S. nationality to promote U.S. interference in Mexico's internal conflicts. Meanwhile, Sicilia, who in 2010 led the movement for peace with justice and dignity, is accused of keeping quiet during the government of Enrique Peña Nieto when the killings of disappearances started.
President, we know you're not responsible for this. You inherited this horror from administrations who only caused violence, impunity, and corruption.
President Andrés Manuel López Obrador gave instructions to his security cabinet to meet with the marchers. However, these people refused to have the meeting.
With an inaugural parade followed by thousands of people, the Uruguayan Carnival, considered the longest in the world, officially began. So let's have a look.
Uruguay's carnival is famous for being the longest carnival in the world, and that's because it can actually last more than 50 days. This Thursday, the inaugural parade was held in front of tens of thousands of people and with almost 1,000 artists participating in the parade.
Montevideo's carnival is a very extensive carnival, which has several activities. This is the inaugural one. which is the inaugural parade in the 18 de Julio Avenue, which is where all the groups that are going to be part of the festivity during the whole month of February and the initial part of March are presented.
The Uruguayan Carnival is essentially a Montevideo festival, but there are still thousands of shows that are also being carried out in all departments of the country. To participate in the official competition, groups rehearse for many months.
For us, it is an exciting moment. Very nice. After 3 or 4 months of rehearsals and things, well, it's a moment of relaxation, the parade. We parade with all our family, our children, and the people who support us, so we are happy again.
This year, more than 50 groups participated in the parade, including Mujas, Ruboro Group, and comedians. After the parade, the party goes on for weeks on more than 30 stages distributed throughout the city's neighborhoods.
The carnival is a celebration, but above all, it is a possibility to share divine moments with the family, with the friends, with the family that one chooses.
Today is the beginning of the longest carnival in the world. It is a moment where each one of us enjoys art, dance, music, poetry, everything that the artists who are here today will give us for a few days.
The carnival for us is an explosion of joy, of color, of beauty. All our artists go out to the streets, all to demonstrate. Those artists who are prepared, those who are not, the amateurs, the fans, all of us are in the streets wanting to participate in some way in the carnival.
A day after the inaugural parade, the Samba School Parade is held along the same Montevideo Road, and on February 7 and 8, it will be the turn of the Armadas Parade, the traditional festival of African origin associated with the Uruguayan Carnival.
Over the weekend, Santiago de Cuba marked the 167th birthday of national hero José Martí. Workers of the National Institute of Sports and teachers ran, walked and biked in this anniversary marathon, along with 1,500 students. The marathon began at Santiago's Revolution Plaza, down the Avenue of the Americas to the Heroes Forest. Older adults and young children also competed to remember Martí's legacy. And with that, we end our news brief, but you can find all of our stories by checking our website, telesurenglish.net. And be sure to also join us on social media. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.